like, you can live here, you only have to pay this much, and you can help me fix it up. Perfect. But up there, it was nice because nothing shut down. You could walk in everywhere. Nobody wore masks. Yeah. I was one of those herd mentality people that helped spread the virus so that the rest of us can get over it, you know?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah. But there was a restaurant up there, I forget the name of it, it never shut down, it was open the whole time, it was packed every night.
Was it the Nuevo one?
Yeah.
Something Roadhouse?
Yep.
We went out there too.
Does it have like igloos in the winter?
Huh?
Does it have igloos in the winter?
Igloo?
Igloos?
Igloos?
It's an I? Igloo?
You guys say it's strange.
Tomato.
Nope, nope. We don't say it's strange. I've never heard it pronounced igloo before, I'm like, what the heck is she talking about? Thought like, I seriously thought you were talking about an egg dish that somebody would eat.
Have I been saying it wrong this whole time?
I-G-L-O-O.
It's just your Rockford accent.
It might be.
If you say it super confident.
You might have.
It's Norwegian, actually.
Maybe when you went to, wherever, I don't know if that's on, is it on? We go see. We're making fun of, yeah, it's on.
Have I been saying igloo wrong this whole time?
It's all right.
Igloo?
Igloo.
I'm gonna keep saying igloo, I like igloo.
Whatever you want. All right, so this is
Oh.
a buyer planning session.
I use that too, though.
And it said like a real play, and so I'm like, okay, well, let's make this real. So I guess starting out, why are you here? Like, what are you hoping to get from this class?
More confidence when hosting buyer presentation.
More confidence, okay?
Maybe a different perspective on it.
A different perspective.
I haven't technically done one yet, so.
You've never
any
done one yet, okay? So
Practice is helpful.
absolutely. Yep.
I've only done one, and I
Only done one.
realize what I need now,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Yep.
So like really my first one I did with somebody who wasn't like Sphere, like the Sphere ones, you just come in and you kind of do paperwork, talk about the process a little bit there. But it wasn't until I did my first one with someone that I didn't know that I was like, oh crap, that was terrible. That was really bad. And I didn't get them as buyers. And so I was like, okay, I gotta do this better. And so different pieces I've begged and borrowed and stole from other people to use. And so we'll go through what I have. This is what I use. This doesn't have to be what you use. You can use whatever you want, however you want to. I've used some AI programs to help me with different things. I've used a lot of different things. I've borrowed like Rick Rico. There's a chart in here that I used his to cover all the steps that I wanted to cover in it and made it my own. And actually, it's all in color, but I didn't want to pay for color copies for you guys. Sorry. So that's why they're not in color right now. What's the purpose of this meeting with your potential buyer client? What's the purpose?
Is it SY or is that just random?
It could be SY or a stranger. What's the purpose?
To figure out their wants and needs and get to know each other a little bit better.
Figure out their wants and needs and get to know them a little better, okay?
To get them as a client,
To
to get the contract signed.
To get them as a client, to sign a contract with them, okay?
That's the end goal for sure. I feel like, especially seeing this, I need something like this to represent myself instead of just my spoken word. So I just brought like a handful of general sheets when I went
Right.
there, and I wasn't really selling myself.
Sure.
And my expertise or my
Right.
past knowledge.
And if you do your presentation portion of this right, your expertise should shine through, right? People should be able to see, you know, what you're bringing, why you're bringing it, all of those types of things. So I wrote down up here on the whiteboard, buyer planning session. I've heard people call it strategic planning session and SPS, buyer planning session. I usually call it a buyer planning session, and it just helps people know why we're getting together and what we're trying to do. So I put 3 things down: prior to, during, and after. Most of what we're gonna cover is gonna be during the buyer presentation, but prior to it, what are some things you think you should have? You should know.
We need to know where we're meeting them, what time we need to confirm with them.
Okay. So you need the appointment details, right?
Yes.
If they're pre-approved or not.
Anybody done one of those without a pre-approval?
If I know the person, yeah.
I would highly suggest not doing that
Yeah.
before pre-approval. That was a mistake I've done, and we'll talk about why that can set your client up for failure. Okay, and set you up for failure as well. Other things that you might want to have prior to this meeting.
All of your documentation that you will bring to the meeting.
Okay, yep, be prepared, make sure you have all of the paperwork that you want.
Just for sake of seeing another
Email
one.
address,
What's that?
phone, email address.
Yeah, maybe it's their details, personal, contact, info. So this would be for your lead, right? We're gonna call them the lead. Anything else?
We're gonna forewarn them, look at the sex offender
Nice.
registry,
I
see if their
love
name
it.
comes up in anything.
Forewarn, everybody got forewarn?
Yes.
Tyler, you forewarn?
Yes, I have. I've looked myself up only to test the waters,
You
but.
can look me
You
up.
can, you can look me up, I got a little record there, so.
I don't know for the record.
I do.
You don't know?
I don't know, I've crashed a lot of cars, I don't know if that shows up on there.
No.
Speeding tickets will show up on there.
Oh, then I
Yeah.
probably have a couple of records.
Just, there's a lot of different things on there that will show up. Anything else?
I feel like there's something
I think a big one, if you're gonna be here by yourself, you know, either let somebody know or time it at a time that you're not gonna be by yourself. That's a big thing. So it's funny, Rico and I laugh because we're pretty much the only ones here working still after like 6, 7, and not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But if I see somebody's here, especially if it's a lady with a male client that I don't know if they know each other or not, a lot of times I'll just check in and say, hey, I'm gonna be here for a while or whatever, and maybe send them a text or something. Hopefully they look at it. Are you good? Do you need me to stay? What? Because
It's a good idea.
I would feel horrible walking out of here and having something happen to somebody, you know, because they don't know it. And so I would just really encourage that. Forewarn's great, but it doesn't take care of all the idiots that are out there, right? And then this is a public business too, so your picture, your profile, all that stuff is kind of out there. And so you don't want somebody to target you.
I've thought about, like, depending on day and time, like, husband.
Yeah.
You're coming with me and you're gonna
Absolutely.
sit in another office.
Yep, teenage kid, right? You're gonna be here. It's just a disclaimer. And the sad thing is, if your car and their car is the only car that's in this parking lot, they know you're here by yourself. So make sure you put yourself in a situation that's safe. Okay, so we talked about the purpose, which is to get a client, right? But also, you definitely want to connect. I want to help them set a search up because I don't want to have to do that at a different time. So I want to really know what they're looking for. And then I want to teach them the process. Now, does everybody, how many of you own a house? Okay? How many of you don't, right? So if you don't own a house and you've never gone through the process before, it's probably a little bit more involved for that person. I'm doing one of these planning sessions tonight with a young man who's never bought a house. So we're gonna take our time on that and go through it. Somebody that's bought several homes or things like that, I still go through this list with them. I don't go through it in as much detail as I do with other people, okay?
It's a good reminder.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I say, we're gonna go through this for two reasons. One, just a reminder of all the different things that come up along the way. Two, I just want you to know how I handle these things so that we're working together on stuff. And so I can get distracted pretty easy. I don't know, anybody else out there like that they can get distracted pretty easy? And so this helps keep me on track. And so the first thing that I do is I give them my bio. With somebody that doesn't know me, instantly they find out a little bit about my background, that I've been in education, I've been in education as high as up to the principal level, and so I don't know if it says that on this one actually, but it gives me some credibility and some fields for some life experience too, that maybe people don't know. Proven leader, where I've worked, how I've helped people in real estate. Talks a little bit about my family. I need to update this. I've been married for 30 years now. Okay. And then talks a little bit about my hobbies and interests. I think the scan bar on this takes you to my website, if I remember. I'm thinking about changing that to go to my Google reviews and to my Google page where people can see my reviews. I've got 41 reviews now, and it's amazing how many people, that's way more than they have in this area and on things. I mean, obviously, Ginger's got a ton for hers, Blems have a ton for theirs. But as a single agent, I'm one of the higher ones, and it's just because I focused on it. It's not because I'm so great or anything like that. So I also point out, hey, at the bottom here, there's my phone number, there's my email address. If you need those, there they are. I don't go in real depth with it, but I just talk a little bit about it. The next page, Google reviews. People read these. They go through them. I picked ones that I felt like did a good job talking about me and how I do things. Most of them, it's kind of funny, most of them are listings. I mostly focus on listings, that's what I do. So I'm not looking to take a bunch of buyers, honestly. And so this is the least favorite role I have, is being a buyer's agent. And the reason why for me is you spend so much time looking at houses that they're not gonna buy. And so if you can tighten this process up, it will help you not to have to look at as many. I've had clients that they were looking for something very specific and it's taken them quite a while to find it. But I've also had clients that they came in, they did everything that we covered, and from start to when they contacted me until finish, which was like maybe 35 days later, we had them in a house, you know. And so you can do things that fast with people, and I've learned from some really good agents things to do that. So I just point out my reviews. I just say, hey, here's a page with some reviews, some nice things some people said about me that work with me. You can read through those when you want to. And then I think the next thing I had in there is this home buying process. And so there's no arrows on it. I'm gonna draw those on there when we go through this. That's how I do mine. And so we'll kind of go through that. And then if you look at the next page, there's questions. These aren't like all the questions that you could have in here, but let's read through those real quick. I'll start with the first one, and then if you guys just want to kind of popcorn around or read the next question, you can. Before we get started in everything, I want to ask you a few questions to get some background on your dream home. Is that okay? Yes. Why are you wanting to buy a home right now?
Where do you want to buy?
How soon do you want to be there?
How will it make you feel if we are unable to meet that time frame?
What is your budget?
Do you have a lender you're working with?
Have you been pre-approved?
What do you have saved for a down payment?
What do you know about the homes that have been purchased recently? Time on the market, prices?
What are your three must-haves for you to purchase a home?
What things do not matter as much to you when you look at a home?
Do you have a home you need to sell in order to buy another home?
Things not to do when looking to purchase a home, car loans, new lines of credit, etc.
Okay, so a lot of information, right? Can
How
you
many
get?
times has that happened to you?
What's that?
The last one? They take to do?
Fortunately, I haven't had it happen to me, but like I said, I definitely work more with listings than I do with buyers. And it's happens where people don't think, like I had one recently where she's like, oh, you're good. There's papers up here, Susan, if you wanna grab some of those.
Thank you.
Yep, and the last paper, or the first paper, depending on which way you come from it, it has 2 sheets to it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So it's funny, like I had one person who their car died, and so I don't think they took out a loan for it, but they used a lot of their cash reserves to buy their next car, and it definitely made it more challenging to close. We had to ask for some closing costs that we didn't have to ask for before. And we ended up, instead of being around Grand Rapids, we bought in Kalamazoo because the prices were cheaper there, so. All right. Information, a lot of this, I would try to get ahead of time. Hopefully I know all of these things ahead of time going into this, but if there's anything I missed, this is kind of a reminder to you to get those. Question, I didn't number them though, a question that says, what are 3 must-haves when you purchase a home? This is really fun to do with husbands and wives, partners, whoever you're sitting down with, and say, okay, on a separate sheet of paper, you tell me what your must-haves are, you tell me what your must-haves are, and then we're gonna compare them. What? I said, yep, can't talk to each other. And they write them down, and almost always they're different. And so then I have them put their list together, and I say, okay, looking at your list, what are the 3 from your 6 that you wrote down, or your 5 that are in common, or whatever? What 3 are really the most important? And people get a kick out of it. It's fun. You get to know them a little better doing that, and so that's a good one to do. What things do not matter to you as much when you look at a home? Has everybody seen the triangle? Anybody know the triangle? Triangle, I'll teach you that. All right, turn your page over. With your pen, draw a triangle. That's a triangle. There you go. Now you're all know how to draw a triangle. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. At the points of the triangle, and it doesn't matter which point you write where, maybe at the top point, put price or money. At the bottom right, condition. At the left point, location. And so what I like to tell people is this. I say, you have a choice on what type of condition your house is, where it's located, and how much money you spend. So do you have an unlimited budget? And most of them say, no, right? I don't have an unlimited budget. And I say, okay, because your budget's not unlimited, we may not be able to live in exactly the place where you want to live. You might want to live in Northview, but we might not be able to find a home priced low enough to be in that area. So we might have to look at other areas. Or what type of rehab, I'm forgetting the word that I used to use. How do you feel about having to fix up your own house? What's your toleration for doing repairs and things like that? do you want the house to be move-in ready? I can probably find you a move-in ready house in Muskegon for a lot cheaper than I can find a move-in house in Grand Rapids, right? I can find one in Grand Rapids for cheaper than I can find one in Rockford. I can find one in Rockford for cheaper than what I can find one in East Grand Rapids, right? And so those things all play into each other. And so what's nice is you can tell people, help them see that's how this connects. If you don't have a lot of money, you might have to give up on the condition a little bit. In this day and age, do you think people give up on their location or condition more? Which one do you see? What's that? Condition?
I would think you would trade location. before
Location?
condition.
I would do location.
Location?
Location.
Location? Yeah, most people have a very low rehab tolerance. So they don't wanna have to fix anything up. At least the people that I've been working with, most of them want move-in ready. They'd rather move to a place that's a little further away than have to fix something up. It's
Been
just-
there, done that.
It's just it's a different mindset. When I was first looking for my first house, I had no problem with if I was gonna have to paint it, redecorate it, do any of those types of things. And there's a lot of buyers, especially our younger buyers, that really are struggling with that portion of it. But as realtors, we see sometimes that those places that are in poor condition and just in a good location, they're opportunities, right? You can get some instant equity pretty fast in your house, your condo, your place that you buy. So that's the triangle. That's how I teach people about what doesn't matter as much. And it's good to talk about. Maybe they want a garage. Well, if we can't find a garage, but you can still stay in this neighborhood, would you rather be there without a garage, or would you rather move from that neighborhood to go somewhere that you have a garage? And that becomes a thing to talk about. And if you can talk about those things ahead of time, it helps you to be more centered on where you want to be.
I'm going where there's a garage.
Yeah, me too. Although I have a big oversized 2-stall garage and I still park in the road because we've got so much stuff on the one side of it.
Clean that
I
up.
said for Father's Day, it'd be great to clean that up so Dad can stay there. All right, the home buying process. This is usually where I go next and bring that out. And so I want them to come with a pre-approval. I want them to come with a pre-approval. I don't want to start sending them homes before they get a pre-approval. Why am I so strong on pre-approval
They
prior
don't know
to
what
doing
their
those
budget
You
things?
don't know their budget. You
They
know what
don't
they
know their
can afford to
budgets.
buy.
Right,
They may think they know, but
right.
Or if they even qualify, I'm just
Or if
wasting
they
your
qualify.
time. Right.
Yep. So I like having all of that done. That's usually before we can meet, we need to get you pre-qualified. Why are we doing that? So when we do meet and we start to look at homes, we're looking at homes that they can afford versus homes that they can't. Is there a big difference between a $200,000 house right now and a $300,000 house right now? Yeah, huge, right? Is there a big difference between a 300 and a 400? Yeah, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. It's huge. The span between each of those categories, and I'm just going by 100,000s. You can narrow it down by even 50,000, and it's a big difference between what you can get and what you can't get. And so it's important to know that, because if Peyton comes into my meeting and she thinks she's qualified for 300 and she's only qualified for 225 to 250, and I show her $300,000 houses, is she gonna be happy at all with any of the 225 to 250? She's not. She's not. She's gonna, who's she gonna blame for that? Me. Not her. It's not because, so my strong recommendation is don't meet with somebody until they have a pre-approval. And if you do meet with them before they get their pre-approval, don't set up a search for them until they get their pre-approval. And they may say, well, other agents are sending me things, and this is what I usually say. I said, listen, I don't want to send you a property that you fall in love with. It's a 10 out of 10 for you, and you can't afford it. Because that's going to take all the wind out of your sails, right? And so 9 out of 10 times they're like, yeah, that makes sense. so get this done. And then they get it done, we set up the things. I said, look, we can talk about all of the things you want, and I can set that up over the phone with you another time. But we want to have that. So pre-approval, they come in, they've done the homework. I say, yay, you did it. You got pre-approved. Nice job. There's a lot of people out there that can't do that right now and that struggle with that. And so, good job. So we're approved for $300,000 with Lake Michigan Credit Union, and I just kind of circle that, put a check by it, whatever. Then I draw an arrow down to the buyer consult, and I say, and now we're holding our buyer consult. We're going to talk about all of the different things that we need to do. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. If you can grab one of each, and then the last paper that's closest to me, you'll want 2 of those. It's a 2-pager. Okay, so buyer consult, we talk about that. We're going to set up the search. We've just talked about in our questionnaire thing here, and if I don't have it, I'm going to ask, okay, how many bedrooms do you guys want? What's your location? I usually start with location first, and I'll put it right up on the screen behind me, and I have my computer open on Flex. And why would I want to do that?
So they can see in real time.
What?
They can see in real time what's
Yeah.
available as you're building the search.
Yep. And so if they're like, we have to be in Rockford School District, that's where we want to be, I can pull up, search by Rockford School District, and all the houses that are on there come up. Are you guys looking for a single family home, or are you looking for a condo? Oh, we don't want a condo, okay? Do you want a single family home? Yes. So you're not, and a lot of times I'll say it like this, you're not looking for a mobile home or manufactured home, are you? Because it kind of discourages that look, and most of the people are, oh, no, we're not looking for that. So again, then I select the single family home, and now it narrows it down even more to what's on market. And so then if I'm asking them, what's important for you, what are we pre-approved to, they'll tell me. And so I might put that as my cap, and then maybe go 50,000 under that, and look and see what comes up. Maybe 7 homes come up in Rockford for 250 to 300. So we can scroll through and look at those. And then the question is, how many bedrooms, how many baths? Do you need a garage? Do you not? And as we start adding those things, what happens to those 7 houses? Boop, 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 boop. They're like all disappearing because they don't necessarily have all those things. So you might narrow it down to 1 house or 2 houses. What I'll sometimes do at that point in time is this. I'll say, now what we can do is we can raise your search from 300 to 310, okay, or 315, but we can't go look at any houses that hit the market brand new that are in this price range. And so I'll raise it up to 10, and I'll say, this one's just been on the market today. They're accepting offers until next Friday. And so we're not gonna go look at this house, even if we really like it, until after that offer deadline to see if it's still available. Usually it takes at least 2 weeks before agents are ready or sellers are ready to start lowering their price, and we can start talking about that. Now this one shows up at 310, okay, and it was on the market already for 50 days, and they started at 325 and they're down to 310. We can definitely go look at this one, and we can offer 300 if that's what we want to do. And so we can do that. Does that make sense? Yeah, Susan?
I do have a question. So if a property's on the market, for instance, I looked at one yesterday, it was on the market for 245 days. And it was in the upper echelon. I'm talking over 700, but there was no movement from their asking price to the price still listed. Does that give you an indication that there is a possibility to go to that buyer and make a lowball offer, or?
So
Just
you
asking.
can always do that.
Right.
What should you probably do prior to doing that?
Call the agent?
Yeah, call the agent, have a conversation.
Right.
Hey, I've got a buyer. This house is listed at 725. We're approved for 680. You know, is that, have you had any offers that are around that? No, we haven't. How are you feeling about the price? I've been telling my buyer or my seller for the last 200 days that they need to lower the price and they won't listen to me. And I just try to be helpful, right? In the long run, they want to sell the house. And so I said, well, would it help if we came through and we wrote you an offer for this? Have you had any offers that low? No, we haven't. People haven't even written offers. Well, I don't know that it's a match for my people unless we go through it, but we'll go through it. And if you're okay with that, that's what they're approved to. That's the best they can do. And so sometimes you can get it, something that way. It just kind of depends on the person's situation.
Okay.
Why are they moving? What kind of equity do they have in their house? Do they need all that equity for something?
Sure.
Has it been on the market already?
Yeah.
And they expired?
Right, you just don't,
Yeah.
it's real easy in this business to assume you know everything that's going on, and it's really about asking questions and not trying to figure out some of those things ahead of time. It doesn't mean you can't question it, it just means you want to check and see.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I get the search set up on Flex MLS. What do you do next? What's that? You can send it to them. I want to make sure there's a subscription set up. So I take them right through that process and I show them what's going to happen then. Okay, I'm saving this search. I usually put their last name in it. So Kidder, 3 bedrooms in Rockford search. And then I make sure that I have their correct email in there. They see me put it in, all those things, and I'll email everything that comes up there. So let's say there's 7 houses that come up. So I'll email them to them right then and there. See if it works. Bing, came up. Perfect. Okay, it's working. And then I set it up as a subscription. Sending a search result is one thing. A subscription is something different. The subscription on the MLS will send it out whenever a new house gets listed if you put ASAP as your timeline. And so
ASAP.
that's very nice. Otherwise, it's going to do it on a certain day, one time a week. You can set it up however you want it to do that. Yeah, so you want to make sure that the subscription's set up. I like it ASAP so that they see that right away.
I would just like, so you have to be careful with the ASAP because I do have a client with a very broad area, so she's getting blasted multiple times a day.
Yeah.
But I mean, she wants that, but then I have another one that's like, can we just like make it like every other day? I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah. So if it's so many that they're coming in that way, to me, I would say we need to refine that search a little bit better. And so if it's an investor, sometimes they have a much bigger area
They
and
just
some of
want
that.
waterfront in like Southeast or Southwest Michigan.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
there's a lot.
Okay. And their budget's pretty open? Yeah. Yep.
Is ASAP an option to choose? Cause I
I
know
think
it
so.
said like once a week, you know, bi-weekly or monthly, I don't know, there's options, I didn't see ASAP, but I'll go back
I
and.
think it's immediately.
It might be
It is
immediately,
immediately.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know for sure what it is, but I mean,
Okay.
there's an option that is clearly right now, as soon as it goes
We get
live.
a copy of it too, so we know what
Yes.
they get, and
Yes.
we know when they
Yep.
open it, and
Yep.
if it's a good one, I will text it to my client and say, hey, did you just see this email?
Yep.
And that way they get it through email and through text.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And you find-
Text also.
You find there's different people there's those that are watching their email, it's like they're holding their phone in their hand, waiting for it, and ping, and they're like on it, and they're calling you right away, and you're like, yes, that's perfect. And then there's investors like I have who are so busy fixing up the worn out homes that they've already had that they don't look at any of the things that get emailed to them. So I've set myself a weekly reminder to go through and look at some of these and find one and text one to them to say, all right, here's one I think would be a good option for you. So you kind of have to weigh some of those things. That's a little buyer agent tip for you there. All right, so we set it up, set up the search, we've got that ready. What's our next thing we're gonna do? We're gonna tour homes. Yay, we get to go do the fun part of this, right? And this is a key thing to say. Typically, when we've got our search set up correctly, and we've talked about all these things, we're gonna look at probably no more than 5 homes before we're ready to write an offer. Now, why would I say that?
So we're not driving to 30, 40 homes, so we can be looky-loos and
30 to
waste our
40.
time.
So if they start getting over 5 and they haven't written an offer, there's something in the back of their mind now, because I said this, where they're thinking, okay, are we doing something wrong? What's going on? Why are we looking at so many homes? And so we can come back and tweak it. The other thing I can say too is, it's normal for us when we go look at homes, we're gonna see homes that are a 5 out of 10 on your list as far as what you wanna buy. Half of the things are what you want, half of them are not what you want. If we see something that you would say is a 7 out of 10, those are usually when people write offers, okay? If you get an 8 or a 9 on that list, it's for sure you wanna write an offer on that property. And then if it's a 10, of course, we don't need to look at any other houses, we just need to go back to the office and write it out. And so, helps set the tone for what we're trying to do. It saves you time running around, gas, those types of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you're gonna find houses. What I like to do is tell them how to communicate with me so that we can tour homes and what that looks like. So, you're going to tour homes, we're gonna tour homes. This is how you let me know that this is a property that you really want to see. If you text me and you say, Kurt, I really like the last home that you sent me, can we go see it? I'm not gonna know enough to help you out. Well, you just sent it to me. No, it's from this subscription that we just set up. It got emailed to you. And sometimes I see those subscriptions, but sometimes I don't. And I'm working with several other clients. So I don't always know specifically what house. So let's make sure we're doing this in a way that works for both of us so we can do it as efficiently as possible. Give me the address. Send me the address. Send me a couple of times that would work for your schedule. And I'll let you know if it works for mine. And if it doesn't, we'll figure it out. And 9 out of 10, oh yeah, that makes sense. And sometimes you have to remind them with a text, right? Okay, what address is that? Remember, I need the address in a couple of times. Because some people are just so excited that they get to go look at houses, right? And so those are important. If it's email, if that's what works best for them, you might have to adjust if that's not what works best for you. If it's a phone call, you'd rather have a phone call, or they'd rather have a phone call, it's okay. Find out what works best for them. Do your best to adjust to what they need. But also, I mean, if it's somebody that is willing to text or whatever works best for you, that's what works best for me. That helps. Any questions about that? I tell them how showing time works. So you picked out this house. Peyton says she loves this house on 10 Mile Road. That's the one, she's sure of it. She wants to buy it. Hold down, Peyton, we haven't even looked at it yet. And then I just tell them we're gonna go into showing time. Showing time, I'll put in a request to the agent. If the house is empty, a lot of times we'll get approved right away. If there's somebody living in that house, we have to work around their schedule a little bit too, and so they get a chance to approve it or not approve it. And if they don't approve it, then we'll have to find a different side. But usually it's already marked out what we can do and what we can't do. And so I'll look, see if it's available. Yes, it is. We'll plug it in, whatever. How many houses should you show at most in one evening?
3.
3 is usually the highest you want to do. Can you show more than 3? Yes.
If they're coming from out of town.
Yeah.
That's confusing though.
If it's more than 3, it's usually they start to blend together, and they don't necessarily make a good decision as far as that goes. There are times when you're going to have to show 5 or 6 on a Saturday or on a weekday if they've taken a day off of work to go see them, and you just have to do that. But I always like to remind them, listen, if you find the house, we don't have to look at any of the other ones. I can cancel those showings, and that's not a problem, okay? And they're usually really good about that if they do it. Some people are like, no, I gotta see these other ones in case, and it's like, okay, but you know, while we go and look at those, someone else could see that house and write an offer before us. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, maybe we should just go write an offer. Now, what I tell my first-time home buyers is, when we write our first offer, we're gonna come back to the office here, we're gonna sit down together and we're gonna write it out together. That's what I like to do, is just a little bit more personal, helps them feel better about going through and writing an offer and doing those things. But teach their own, like what you wanna do. It's your,
Depends on how far you are.
it's your business, right? Well, usually I'm out showing homes, right? And if it's something that there's no time limit on it and it's in a price range where anybody can write an offer anytime, we're usually just gonna go right after looking at houses to write up the offer. Yeah,
On the showing time app, I heard this somewhere along the way where you can provide a copy of the app to them so they know. I think kids
I
will
don't,
say
I don't have that set up for people,
that's
no.
fine.
Nope, I just have their information in it and it just emails them, and I've had a couple of older, people that I've been working with that they're not really on those things anyways, you know, and so
It's
I'll
not a
usually just
problem.
screenshot what I got back, or, I'll copy and paste it and just take out the agent's information and send it to them so that they know
Okay.
we've been confirmed or not.
Okay.
But it's usually, I've requested it, and we're waiting for confirmation, that's usually what I do. I try also then, as soon as I have, let's say they pick 3 for that night, I try to make sure that I have a detailed, timeline of what we're doing. A trick that you can do if you're using, I think it's on your phone to do it, is you can space them out and you can have them overlap if you're using your phone. If you're using your computer to set them up, you can't have them overlap because it blocks it out on your screen. But I like having overlapping appointments. So my first one might start at 5 o'clock and go till 5:30. My next one might be 15 minutes away, right? And so I need 15 minutes of drive time, but I might be able to actually start it at 5:15 and have it go until 6:15. So now this one's an hour. I'm only planning on a half an hour there, but now I've got that blocked out. So if I get there early, we're good, right? And if I get there a little bit later, we're still good. We've got plenty of time to look at the house. That way, if they get to one and it smells so bad of cats or dogs or whatever, they're like, yeah, we're not gonna put an offer on this house. We can go right away to the next house. And so if that happens more than once in the night, it's gonna fall through. Like, you're gonna have to say, okay, hey, listen, we're not gonna be able to do that. We can't get to this one until this start time. But it's kind of a nice little hack to give yourself some time, and you're not feeling like you're rushed, and you're not frustrated with your clients that drive like grandparents. And so I have a
Me
couple
too.
of clients that it was honestly almost like a race to see who was gonna get there first, and so I don't suggest that either, but those are people mad, SOI. So you've turned homes, you're writing an offer. I come back here and what I wanna do is take them through that whole process. And so I'm not gonna cover doing that. There's enough classes that cover what you're doing in that, offer writing and things like that, that you guys can do that. But you really want them to be sure of all the different things that they need to do. Okay? So once we get the offer written, we've got it submitted, one of 2 things are gonna happen. What's gonna happen?
Accepted or not?
It's either gonna get accepted, yes, or it's gonna get a no. If it gets to a no, I draw a little arrow down to the no. I draw another arrow in between these columns back up to tour homes, and I draw the arrow over to tour homes. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go, no, it didn't get accepted. We're gonna go back to looking at homes until we find the right house, and then we'll start that process over again there, right? Then when we do get accepted, yes, they've accepted it, we're gonna go over to this column and start the earnest deposit. So now we're drawing an arrow. I draw an arrow that comes from this yes over to here, and this one goes all the way up. That's how my little path goes. So earnest deposit, you guys know what EMD is, right? Okay. Typically, and I wrote it down here, it's a minimum of 1%. If someone's like, well, I can't put $2,000 down, I need that money, or I need something like this, we might have to talk to them about increasing how much money they have saved. It's a lot more fun to work with higher priced clients than it is with sometimes your newer ones because of some of these things. But what I'll typically tell them is, if they push back on that, I'll say something like, listen, even if the house is $200,000, we're gonna have to put at least $1,000 down on it, okay? If it's $300,000, we're gonna need to put at least $1,500 down on it, right? You want it to be at least half of that 1%, like a 0.5%, but I don't advertise it. I start with 1%. This is what you need. If you're writing on a $700,000 house, you should not have an issue putting $7,000 down on that house, right? So,
Is your minimum always 1%?
1%.
Really?
Yep.
I thought it would be
Typically.
higher,
Yeah.
so that indicates that you're more interested in.
Well, it
this.
depends on the situation, right? And so if it's a house that's hot and my seller has money to put more money down, we'll definitely talk about that.
Okay.
You can make your EMD non-refundable if you want, if you're like sure that this is the one, you've looked at enough houses that you know you really want this. There's all kinds of strategies there, but as I'm covering this with somebody, especially first time, 1% is what I talk about.
Okay.
And I might talk about if it's a better situation that we can, but we can talk about that in the offers and how we do when we write an offer. Okay, so we put that down. It says within 48 hours, either tomorrow or the next day, I need that check from you made out to Keller Williams, Grand Rapids North for this amount. Or we've got this great program called Earnest, where I can email you a link and you can send it from there. Which works better for you? Give me a personal check made out to Keller Williams North and drop it off here at the office, or to do this online? I'd like to do it online. Okay, it costs about $30 to do that. Okay, great. Some people, they pinch every penny and they'll write you the check. Some, their time's more valuable than that. So
But
they-
they have to deliver it, they don't give it to you.
What's that?
They don't give it to you
No,
personally,
they
they have
deliver
to
it.
deliver it.
Yep,
Okay.
bring it here. Yeah,
They can give it to you if you wanna bring it in for them.
they can. I would try my best to stay out of the habit of that. You know what I mean? I don't wanna be driving around picking up checks from different people, and I want them to do it. Now, if they have their checkbook with them right then and there, it's the first time we're sitting down, we're writing their offer, they're good doing it right there, perfect.
Can they
We're-
mail it?
We're here. No, because if they mail it, it's not gonna make it within the 3 days. And that 3 days, that it has to be in there. I tell them 48 hours. It has to be within 3 days that this building has received it.
The
Yep.
mail is funded
And
to
even
you.
if it's in the box, the mailbox out there, that counts. Okay? All right. Next thing that we have to do. So if our budget here is 250,000, I'm gonna write down that amount to $2,500, right down there, and just put it on there so they see, okay, this is money that I need to have ready to go. And then they can also, I tell them, I said, listen, when you write that check, we don't just hold on to it, it gets cashed and it gets split into what's called an escrow account, so that when it's cashed, it will be applied later to you buying it. So it's money you've put down on the house, and it gets subtracted from the total cost of what we've got. Okay, great. Inspections. Okay, we're gonna do inspections, we're gonna ask for a 10-day window unless it's really competitive. But I really am insistent that they get their house inspected. Well, I don't have enough money. Too bad. You still need to get your house inspected.
It's gonna cost you a lot more money if you don't get it inspected.
Come on, Mom.
Nice.
Where's my- You've bought me enough food in the past. So the inspection period, you can cut this down if you're in a competitive situation. You can go in ahead of time with somebody that maybe knows and can give them good advice on it if they have a trusted friend or things like that. I usually give them a list of inspectors that I want them to work with, and then I try to avoid inspectors I don't want them to work with. Now, if they have somebody that they really are adamant they work with this person, great. But you'll find that there's some people out there that are higher quality than others and do a more thorough job than others. And I've had a couple clients get burned by one in particular, and so I don't recommend them.
Are you able to tell us who the one you got burned by is?
I was gonna say.
Thank you.
They usually go with two letters. One would be the first initial of my son's name, Jordan, and the second one would be like a Wilson basketball, only it's not.
What?
So-
What's the name?
JW.
If you have somebody that wants like a 3-day inspection period, and you give them, we'll say 3 names to choose from.
Yeah.
Do you pre-call all of the inspectors and say like, hey, are you gonna have availability in the next
Yeah.
3 days?
Definitely.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, there's lots of things like that you can do ahead of time, and especially if it's something that you're looking at on the weekend,
Yeah.
you know? What works for them, can you get it, then I might do that before I write the offer even, to find out when I do. It just depends on if it's a super competitive situation or if it's not. And some of that competition's going down. I imagine that we're gonna see a lot of it ramping up right now too, as we get closer to spring market hitting. All right, so we set the inspections. I tell people that, listen, can range, I've seen them as cheap as $500, and I've seen them go all the way up to like $1,500, depending on what you're getting. If you're getting like a mold test, if you're getting a radon test, if you're getting a septic test and those types of things, it's pretty easy to go all the way up to like $1,500 on it. So again, I write that amount down on my sheet here, so they've got a way to plan on how much money that they're putting towards it.
Sure, so your range is 500, around 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think the guy I'm using right now is a closer look inspection. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a little while since I've had a buyer go through. And he does a great job. He's there, he's not afraid to crawl under houses if he needs to and look at things in crawl spaces or whatever. I want somebody that will do that. Takes pictures of things so you can see it and know what he's doing. Okay, negotiate inspections. I just tell them this means that when we get that inspection report back, we either have to, 1, accept it as is, 2, we can ask for repairs, 3, we can ask for the price to come down. So that's kind of what we're limited to on those things. So if we ask for repairs, they can say no. They can say, we'll do these repairs, they can do, and I let them know how this goes. And I say, okay, if at this point they say no and you don't agree, you can always walk after the negotiate or repair portion here and say, you know what, there's too much on this house that needs fixed, I'm gonna go look for a different house. When do I typically do that with my clients? And I tell them this, if there's a huge problem with the foundation, then that might be something. It's just too expensive to do it. I said, if there's a roof that needs to be replaced and they're unwilling to give you any credit towards the roof or do anything there. I said, but I've had roofs that have failed inspections and we've gotten new roofs out of the deal through negotiation. So just because the roof isn't necessarily good on this house doesn't mean you need to walk away from it. And you want to start filling their heads with that we can usually negotiate these things. We can usually come to an agreement so that people, the first time they see a list of like 17 things that didn't pass on the inspection, they're good. Now that typically happens with my lower clients than my higher end clients, but it's just something you want to be aware of and talk through with people that you need to.
Wait, did you guys notice how his voice went higher when he said negotiate? That's because it's positive. Good job for that inflection.
Oh, thank you.
I missed it, I'm sorry, I was just
Is that what we
focused.
talked about in goals yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit, he was talking about
Oh,
it.
it'll be.
Down
With
swings.
the, yeah.
Embedded.
Yeah, we're
Did we
doing-
talk about mold yesterday? I was like, I don't know. Did we talk
That
about
makes
mold?
sense, doesn't it? My voice stayed down the whole time. That makes sense, doesn't it? That's like, I'm not sure if it does make sense. Okay. So inspection negotiation, if we can't get to it, if we go to the no, then we're gonna draw an arrow from the no over to the tour homes again, and we start the process over. Get your EMD back, you don't get your inspection money back, that's gone, and we go to tour homes. Okay? If yes, we're good, or we accept it as is, then it goes to order appraisal. Order appraisal. Your bank is usually gonna charge you for the appraisal, which is anywhere from $500 to $1,000 depending on who's doing it. So I write it down again, 500 to 1,000. And they're seeing now, okay, 25 and 15, that's $4,000 right there,
Can you-
5,000.
Are we writing a check for that? I can't remember if I paid for my appraisal or if it was rolled up into my mortgage.
It depends on the mortgage lender, and typically you're gonna write a check for it.
Okay.
They're gonna ask you for it ahead of time. But depends on it, and it depends on what you're putting down on a house too.
Okay.
Like if somebody's putting $50,000 down on a house, they're usually getting rid of an inspection waiver because they're within that amount of value to the house. Like it's now what you're taking out your loan for is so much lower than the loan value. You're like at, I don't know. It just depends on what your loan to value is on your loan. So I've had people put half of the money down into a mortgage, and they always get a waiver on something like that. If they've got 75% that they're asking for, usually you're gonna have to have a appraisal for anything 75% or higher that you need. And there's a lot of conventional loans right now that are 3%, 5%, 10%, and so definitely they're gonna want you appraised to see that it. I always tell them, I said, now who does the appraisal, I ask them a question, who does the appraisal protect? And they always say, us, the buyer. I said, nope, it protects the bank, because the bank's lending you money, and they wanna make sure that they're giving you money on something that's worth equal or greater value than what you're asking for the money for. Oh, okay.
Did
So-
you ever ask why the bank is not paying that? Who protects the bank?
What's that?
Does your customer ever ask? if
Sometimes,
why-
and I just
okay.
talk about it.
Yeah.
So you can shop around, because most people pay it. Okay, appraisal negotiated. This only happens if the appraisal comes back and the appraisal's low of the amount that we wanted. Then we have to negotiate the appraisal. So the house we offered $250, it came back at $240. There's $10,000 that's not covered. And so will the seller come down in the price $10,000? Great, then we're good. We've negotiated it and we can go on. But if they're like, no, we're not willing to, we might have to add another $5,000 if they'll split it with us. We might have to add the whole $10,000. They won't. You know, this is where it's at, and this is where a decision is. And so again, there's a no box over there, and I take it down and draw a line to the tour homes if we can't figure that out. Or I say, yes, we're good, the appraisal came back where it needed to, we go now over to send to underwriting. The only appraisal that I had a couple of them, but the biggest time I have them that don't hit is if it's a VA lender. And that's because they're usually zero down loans. And so they seem to be a little bit more sticky on making sure that they've got everything than conventional and others. All right, so after we get that, it's sent to underwriting. This takes as long as 2 weeks. Said it sometimes takes less than that, but underwriting is just gonna double check everything, make sure everybody's approved, everything's there. Because you worked with my preferred bank and they already verified your information, they've already know how much you make, they've already looked at your bank accounts, they've done all those things ahead of time, it's probably not gonna take as long. But if they're working with ABC lender and they don't wanna switch, this is where you can also say, I would suggest switching to this bank who's local and who does things so that we don't end up wasting a lot of time waiting for this. Have any of you ever worked with a loan broker before? No?
I think so.
I did
Is that
once.
right?
Oh, it was horrible.
There's multiple.
So this guy gave us a pre-approval for $260, which was what my our offer was that was accepted, and then they couldn't get qualified. They couldn't get qualified. So we kept shopping it around to different people trying to. So it's 2 months of us waiting for them to get qualified when they had already given us a pre-qualified letter that they were pre-qualified, and they couldn't do it. So I try to steer clear of them. If you see Rocket Mortgage, Loan Factory, any of these other places that are, you don't know, they're not local, I would push back on them if you're the listing agent. If you're the buyer's agent and they come in with one of those things, I would try to steer them. You can't force them to, but I would definitely try to steer them to it. And I would just tell them, I said, it's in your best interest. And they may promise this rate, but if we can't get this house and it's the one that you really, really want, are you gonna be okay with that? And most of them are not. I find that LMCU can usually match pretty much whatever anybody's rates are in cost for loan if they're really stickler on getting the cheapest loan value. You start using a Treadstone, a Benchmark, some of the others, their cost of the loan is higher, but they're usually rock solid, and you're not gonna have trouble having the offer accepted with any of those names on there, so. All right, we wait for underwriting, and then when we get it, we get what's called a clear to close. Yay! Clear to close means we can schedule our closing. And so sometimes there's conditions for us as a buyer. They may need to double check your income, or they found out that your car actually has more balance on it than what you thought it did, and so we might need to pay off a little bit on our car or something like that, and then we're good to go. Whatever it is, it can be weird what they ask for you to do. So we go through those conditions, we get the documentation needed, and usually within a few days, sometimes a week, we're moved on and we can close. You can see it says 5 days on there. I want to under promise and over deliver, so I'd rather promise more days that things take than get to something. If we didn't have any conditions that we need to meet, we get to go right through the yes down to close. Then what we'll do is we'll set up a closing time. When we set up that closing time, we're going to go to TransNation, which is who I close with, and we'll pick out a date. Before that, you'll get what's called an ALTA statement that will show exactly how much money you need to bring a check for your portion, and then we'll also show up there and sign documents. And so we talk about that. I tell them afterwards we do a happy dance and take pictures together, so I put on my social media. And so if you want to dress up, you can dress up. If you don't want to dress up, you don't have to. And then we talk possession, okay? So when we fill this out, possession was 30 days. I make sure that they know when that is going to be or how that works. And then if we're writing the contract, make sure that they know that too. And then I keep track of what that date is so that I know and can warn them ahead of time. Yeah, that's kind of it. That as I go through all that, I sound super knowledgeable because I'm talking through the situations with them. This, just having this sheet and going through this makes people, I would say 90% more likely to sign up with you and choose you to be their buyer's agent. And so then I say, okay, does that all make sense? Yep. Are you ready now to sign some papers and become officially my client? Yep, we are. And so I think I've got this client sheet next. I set that off to the side, and I go into my disclosure regarding agency. I don't read through all of this. What I tell them is this. This form is to protect you and me so that we can work together. And so I'm not asking you to be my client on this form. I'm just asking you, do you already have an agent that you're working with? Have you signed documents with another agent? 99% of them are going to say no if they haven't, but every now and then someone says, well, yeah, I have a listing agent. They're selling my house. Okay, and did you sign any buyer's agent paperwork with them? No, I didn't. Okay. And those are usually people that are out of town, that are doing something in Traverse City and they're moving down here, or over in Chicago and they're moving here. But sometimes it's not. And so then you go down here, there's a check mark there for buyer's agent. I want to represent you as your buyer's agent. I'm acting as a designated agent only. And so then I sign where it says licensee and put the date in there. And then I say, does have a relationship if, say, they're working with a seller or with a seller agent or a listing agent. I put does not, and I don't check either of the boxes if they don't have a relationship with somebody. You only are checking the boxes if they have somebody signed. Then I go down to where it says potential buyer. So they're signing there where it says buyer and they're dating. And then if there's a spouse or a significant other, they also sign it there.
Would we have them check both boxes if we're gonna be listing their home as well, or would we just treat it
You
totally
do
separate?
you do a different one.
Oh, okay.
Because this one is representing as a buyer's agent. I suppose you could do a seller's agent, or sub agent too. You could do both on there. Yeah.
Just keep it separate,
It-
probably.
it depends honestly on the office and what they want for that, so, yeah. Sometimes they want both and how picky they are on
Really
it.
depends on the loop.
You can also make a copy of it and put it one in one loop and one in the other if it's got both checked, so you're covered that way. I just did one Tuesday, I think Tuesday night, where I checked that I'm the buyer's agent, and I had the other person check that they're the seller and sign it, because I'm representing the buyer and they're not on the market and they're the seller, and just this way I have documentation that they knew ahead of time that I had a buyer's, I'm representing a buyer and they're representing themselves as a seller. So that one's pretty important to have if you ever do like a for sale by owner or something like that. You wanna make sure that you have that person check that, and that you're not trying to do a dual agent, you're showing that you're representing whoever you're working with.
Just for one side of it.
Yep.
Figured
Yep.
Michigan.
Okay. West Michigan Regional, property agreement or buyer agreement. This is made between, write in the name of the buyer. Then, Keller Williams Grand Rapids North is our broker. General description of property. Buyer wishes to purchase real property which may include items of personal property having the following general description and location. The easiest thing to write on there is all properties in Michigan. That's the easiest thing to write there. All properties in Michigan, including for sale by owners or properties found by the buyer, is even stronger to write in there. So if they find a property that's off market with Aunt so-and-so, are they still gonna work with you and you're gonna help them with their paperwork and that kind of stuff? It's a real thing that happens sometimes, and so you wanna be able to have that talk and to hopefully have shown that you have the value to still be their agent and negotiate on their behalf and do all the things that you need to do.
So how did you phrase that, including?
For sale by owners and properties brought to me by the buyer. Okay. Designated agency, oh, the other thing I do on there, like if I'm working with an investor or a person that buys a lot of properties, they may work with several different real estate agents, then on them I'll write the specific name of the property. So the one I just told you about that I'm doing, put together, I just put the property name on that one. Designated agency, your name goes on the first line, so I've got Kirt Stevens, designates Ed Hansen. So if you look to the right of the names, you got buyer designated, supervisor, agent. Terms, I usually write the date that we're signing it, so whenever our meeting is, and then I put these out a year from now. That's typically what I do on those. Buyer agents or working as a buyer agent usually takes longer than working as a listing agent. Listing agent, I usually do 6 months. just kinda depends. Compensation, you can see I have my fee in there already, it's $600 and 3%. You can set this whatever your team sets it, or whatever you set it as an individual. It could be 4%, it could be 8%. I don't know what you feel like you're worth, but just understand that when it comes time to write that, purchase agreement out, it really comes down to what the seller is offering or willing to pay, and that you need to have a conversation around that right here, right now with your buyer. And so typically what I'll say is, my fee that I charge is $600 plus a 3% commission. Most of the time, I can get the seller to pay for all of that. There have been times when the seller won't pay for all of that, and in those instances, you'll need to come up with a difference. Okay, does that make sense? So maybe it's 2.5%, so on a $300,000 house, they're gonna give $2,500 of my commission, you're gonna have to come up with another $500. 2% is usually where like the lowest I've seen somebody offer, but they can offer nothing if they want to, depending on who you're working with. I just did one where that $200, or that house with the person that signed, he wanted her to pay his closing costs, his realtor fees, all of it. And so she did, because she's getting a good deal on the house, and it was off market, and she didn't have to compete with anybody. And so she's paying $12,000 in commissions, I'm getting 6% commission, I'm getting $1,200 for that, and she knows that because we've talked about it. It wasn't an issue. I wasn't taking her for a ride on anything. She didn't feel like that, because again, we'd had open communication around what that looked like. Okay, yeah.
This line has been confusing to me with the one customer that I had, because he argued with me about this. So this other line E, can we put the $600 down there? Like, he was mad because there were 2 fees in that line. He was so mad,
Nope.
and so then I tried to move it.
If you go to E, then you're saying that's all they pay is $600.
No, but
And
if
then
I
you-
put just 3% of the sales price and then move the $600
No,
to the other fee
you
line?
can't. You're either choosing A, B, C, D, or E here.
Or, somebody had
Those
one
are
of the
or.
classes, oh, okay.
Yep.
Somebody told me to put it under other fee.
Should it be maybe $600 plus 3%, not and 3%?
Either or, I want it, it's definitely both for me, so that's why it's and.
Okay, no, I was just
Yeah, it can
trying to
be
figure
either.
out why it might be
Yeah,
not.
well, in one of the classes, I think it was Kendall, she said put it under the other fee, the 600.
And she may have, and that, but my understanding is,
Yours
it's
either
just
A, B, C, D,
easy,
or
yeah,
E.
you're
Okay.
picking one, and so
Okay.
there's an optional fee. If I'm gonna put an optional fee that they have to pay me $25,000 because I helped negotiate a really good deal on this house that was off market or something like that, then I wouldn't have a 603% there. It'd be gone, and they'd just pay me $25,000. And so that's where those things come in more often. Rental, obviously, is if it's a rental or a lease. Retainer fee would be an additional thing, and this is if they're gonna pay you ahead of time for any work that you're gonna do, be kinda like a lawyer. But, yeah. So yes, Susan, you could put it there. I try to just put it in one spot. I feel like it's less confusing that way than the other way.
It just flipped out at me, it was a bad thing, so then I tried to take my little pen and write it down
Sometimes-
here, and then I got myself in big trouble. What was that deal?
Sometimes that's just old men, so,
And he was an old man.
I know. Yeah,
Flipped out.
unfortunately.
We could not go any further until I actually took my little pen and wrote that, and then it negated, it was horrible. Anyway, I didn't know what I was doing at that point.
Right, and the more confident you are with things, like, I don't say, hey, this is negotiable at this point in time, you can pick whatever you want. I say, this is my fee. It's $600 and 3%, that's my fee. And then I explain to them, most of the time it can get covered in the purchase of the house, the seller will pay it, but there are times when the sellers refuse to pay it, and in those instances, you're gonna have to pay the difference, or you will need to pay my fee. And it works out better having that conversation at that point in time than later on as you're trying to write an offer, and now you've got somebody that won't offer the full 3%, and you're trying to now backpedal and say, hey, I need you to cover this. Well, we didn't talk about that. Why do I have to cover it, you know? And so it's always better to cover it ahead of time.
I have one right now, my current buyers that are under contract, because the sellers are offering 2.5. They're signed it through, so, yeah.
And it's not usually an issue if you've covered it. They know. You've already talked about it, so they know. All right. Am I doing on time? Good. Okay, broker commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. It's on there. I don't really talk about it much as far as this goes. You can definitely mention it, and you should mention it, but you just tell them, this is what I work for. And if they say, well, will you do 2% for me? I say, no, this is my value as a person. And so, but I don't have anybody ask me to change it, so. And then if someone does ask you to, then you need to decide if it's worth it to you to do that, okay? Credit, buyer will receive credit against compensation due in the amount of equal to the commission, blah, 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 blah. I don't even remember what that's all about. All right, protection period, this talks about how long after you showed a house to somebody you're protected for if they decide to buy that with somebody else or on their own. So I put 12 months in there. That seems reasonable to me. If I can help you within those 12 months and you're willing to wait that long, 12 months before you buy a house with somebody else, great. You can put 24 months in there if you want. I don't know, to each their own. Other potential buyers, understands that other potential buyers through the designation may consider make offers at the same or similar. So I might have, this is talking about that I might have another buyer that's putting an offer on the same house. Typically what I'll do as a single agent is I'll have someone else write an offer for one of those two, and I'll pay them a referral fee. That's how it works. And so most of them are pretty good with that. And it just keeps there from being a conflict of interest on anything. Dual agency, it talks about how you can represent both the buyer and the seller. I highly recommend you don't do this in things. I highly recommend that you offer to help your seller with the paperwork, but that they're negotiating on their behalf, you're negotiating on your buyer's behalf, and you are working for your buyer if that's who you have the relationship with. Scope of representation, I'm just a buyer's agent. I'm just a real estate agent. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a divorce lawyer or therapist. Sometimes I may give some counseling, but it's only based on my experiences. I'm not a certified counselor, and they'll usually laugh. Authorization of order services. The broker can order service on buyer's request. Most of the time, I will give them the list of people that they want to use for inspections or my recommendations for inspections, but I let them order it themselves. I don't necessarily do that. You can, there's groups out there that will let you order on their behalf, but that way they have to pay for it at that time too, and so I'm not messing around with any of that type of thing.
Does that happen? Cause don't you have to then block your time to get into the home and be present for the inspection as well?
Yeah, yep, they'll usually do that though. Most inspectors have access to do that at that time, and so we've already set up the time kind of with them. And so we've talked about it ahead of time, had a conversation around it, but now they go and they solidify it and pay for it and do those things. Financial disclosure, this just says that an identity disclosure that we can disclose their identity to people, that we can disclose their financial information as we're working to buy this house. Indemnification just means that they're not gonna hold you liable for different things that might happen in this. A lot of times they say, like, if you slip and fall on a patch of ice, it's not my fault. I'm not Jack Frost. consent to fees that talks about on placement fees, finder fees, and other considerations from services. I just go back, I said, this is what we've agreed to here. If there's something else that's coming up on that, we can talk about it. We're gonna talk about also some businesses that I work with that we're gonna offer you some different services, and you can work with them. And I do sometimes get fees for those things, warranties, title. Leasing or optioning, this is only if there's a lease going on. I'm not working on that usually with situations. Non-discrimination, we're not gonna discriminate based on any of these items. Counterparts, this agreement may be signed with any number of counterparts with the same effective signature for each counterpart. If there's something we need to add to it, we can do an addendum to this agreement. Maybe grandma comes with a house that she wants to give them. I'm not gonna charge them a commission on the house that grandma's gonna give them. Kindle would, but I wouldn't. No, I'm just kidding. Electronic communication is just that we're okay to email this information back and forth to each other. Governing law, state of Michigan, miscellaneous, entire agreement, there's no oral agreements, it can be modified or amended in writing. Additional conditions, if there's something you need to write in there, you can write it in there. And then it just acknowledges that it's between the broker, buyer, and me. And then you're gonna have your buyer sign it, check off their marital status. I have them write in what their present address is, phone number, and information there. And then I sign it at the bottom there. There's spots for them to initial it, have them initial it. And then, what I do next is I make copies of these for them, especially since we're here having this meeting. And I give them this client info sheet. And I show them the front of it, I show them the back of it. If I don't get this filled out, I get in big trouble with my wife, who's my admin. She's not very nice to me when this happens, and it's happened more than once, so I'm really working on that. But I'll give them this, I'll say, if you can fill this out for me. We do a lot with our clients after we close on the house, and during the time when we're closing the house. If you have a birthday, we like to send cards. If you have we just like to be involved. They'll fill it out. 9 out of 10 times they only fill out the front half of it. Sometimes they do the other. And then I go make copies, I bring them back, and I say, okay, we're ready to go. Have any other questions for me? It's very rare that people have questions after you go through it. I'm pretty good at keeping it to within an hour going through it. It depends a lot on how much time they spend on the search. But like, if you go through it kind of like I talked about, it's pretty easy to, again, keep it in that time frame. Right, any questions from you guys? No? Okay, use as much of this as you want to, make it your own, you know, you can use Canva for things, you can do whatever you want. If you saw any errors, point them out so I can fix them.
30 years, not 20.
I know, it is 30, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think, except for here, most of us were at that AI class, right, Tuesday? Has anybody tried that yet?
I don't want to.
Alright, so I went in yesterday and had it take my first 100 days and translate that into a first 30 days and pretty it up and all that stuff, and it literally took it 8 minutes to do it.
Which
Including
one?
Adding all the hyperlinks from YouTube and everywhere else for what he needed.
Which,
Really, Gemini or
which
Notebook or-
application did you use?
Well, 2, I was using Notebook and Gamma.
Okay.
So, the other thing that I do in Notebook is, they're working, she's fixing some of the holes in the wall.
Fixing holes in the wall by pounding on it.
Yeah, I had MP3 files from Fillmore Union and that type of thing, uploaded the MP3 file and said, create a slide deck for this, and it literally did it in like 8 minutes. There are sample listing presentations and buyer presentations in the agent resources folder. I know for team, you guys have all yours created, but for those of you that are not on a team too, if you don't like what you have, or you want it more personalized or branded, you can use either one of those platforms too,
Yeah.
and I guarantee you it will do it in a matter of minutes.
And as a team agent, you're gonna want to still collect your own reviews. You know, whether that's on Zillow, whether that's on home.com, wherever it is you want those reviews. And make a review sheet that you bring, that you can share with people. Maybe you don't have any right now. It's okay to get them from people that know you, that haven't used you in real estate. Other agents, I have reviews from other agents. Family members, now most of my family members have used me for real estate, but I have reviews from them as well. I have some from people in this office that I've worked with for years and things like that as well. And so it's one of those sheets you want here because people look at it, they read those, they'll go back to it if they don't read it during the time that you're presenting to them. And they believe it because somebody else said it, right? So, and then if you don't have a bio, talk to your team about when you're gonna get a bio or make your own. Make your own, you make it look janky enough, they'll make one for you. All right, any other questions? Sorry, I got you out of here half an hour early.
Thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You are welcome.
Kirt, did you guys talk about forewarn before I got here?
Talk about what?
Forewarn before I got here?
We did. Do you have it?
I do, but what do you need to actually run a background check?
Their phone number.
That's it?
You can do it by the name too.
Okay, I was just curious, cause I haven't used it, but I'm
Usually-
going to be looking at some.
You put in a
I left my phone in the car, I gotta
No,
go grab it.
You put in a cell phone number.
Turn the
and
TV
then
on
it brings
there.
it up.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm gonna try it for, I'm going to show some rural properties with a gentleman I haven't met face to face yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
would
like,
definitely find a
I'm
partner.
gonna run it just in case, he seems normal, but I just don't wanna.
But I mean, I'll show you right here how it works.
Ask Kendall to tell you stories about
I've
where
got
Kurt
my
sent
little
her.
personal alarm that I can rip off of me and
Oh.
beep beep and flash and
Yeah.
all the things, right?
Kurt sent me to some where I was like,
What's your favorite season?
She's like, are you sure? This cabin in the woods looks a little suspect.
Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
see. I don't know, the up north, I found an agent for up
Did you,
north.
have you connected earlier, Kurt? Cause it's telling me it's not available. Oh, no.
I did.
Thank you,
I'm gonna go grab my phone out.
You're
of the car
welcome.
real quick, if that's okay.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
can kind of follow
I'll take
along.
you real quick. I've got.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was late. I
No,
was
you're
with a
good.
client in
It happens.
Muskegon and totally.
Yeah, we just talked about ahead of time, using forewarn, if you're gonna be here, you know, make sure that it's not so late that there's nobody here.
Yeah.
And those type of things, or have somebody come with you.
You gotta be careful.
You
Yeah,
do,
here's-
especially the longer you're in the business, the more,
Here's the whole,
the
yeah,
more,
all the slides, and it put that together for me from an MP3,
nice.
so.
Yeah.
The more you're in the business, the more your image and your contact information and stuff is out there, and so it's unfortunately pretty easy for people to get those things, and we don't want anybody here to be a statistic.
For sure. Alright, I'll be back in 2 seconds.
1, 2, 2.
And then I used Gamma here, so notebook, like if you're in notebook right here, let's say that I wanted it to give me that 30-day real estate, what it does basically is it makes it look like this, right? So then all I did is saved the file, and then I took it to Gamma, and had Gamma pretty it up,
Smart.
and here's what it looks like in Gamma. And again, I just sat here and watched it write it. It was just like, blah, 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 like, there it is.
Nice.
And I know nothing about AI either, all of you. I mean, I was like, okay, let's see if I can make it, you know, she said it can do this, let's try it.
So you didn't follow her cheat sheet that she gave at the end, cause she had like 7 platforms that you just do this, 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 and this, and then it just.
Well, I took notes of what each one of those platforms would do.
Right.
So then I picked the platform that I wanted.
You wanted, right? Huh.
Yeah, and tried it that way and it worked, so. All right.
Your back pocket, I've done that before.
No, I
I
don't
never
have
put it in my
that.
back pocket, the one time I do.
Yeah, but you go into panic mode when you can't find your phone.
Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh, it's in my bag the whole time, you guys.
That's me.
I've been a crazy person since like 6:30 this morning.
It looks
Okay.
familiar to me. Do you have relatives in Kalamazoo?
I do.
Madison?
Maddie Piat, but she's not in Kalamazoo. The Piat, I have Piat family in Kalamazoo.
I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Piat?
Okay. I don't think there's any relation, maybe you just look extremely like her, like a doppelganger.
Okay, I'm gonna show you this real quick, cause
Yeah,
then I have a
thanks, I'm sorry.
buyer appointment, that's okay. So I just typed in forewarn,
Okay.
right here's the website, see, it looks like forewarn.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna log in. I already have my password and stuff saved. It always makes you confirm with a second code.
Okay.
So just be prepared for that.
Yep.
You're welcome.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kurt.
happy to
Thanks,
share.
Kurt.
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Kurt.
so then when I get in, it automatically gives me phone number.
Before you take
Okay.
off, go see Beth.
So, let's
She's got
say I
a couple
just put
things for
mine
you.
in.
She's hunting for me.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So she's gonna,
It's trophy time. and-
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like
So she's
Julie